This is Hollywood. The Temple Israel of Hollywood is located at 7300 Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles. Now, since founding by a group of entertainment luminaries in 1926, the Temple Israel of Hollywood has never strayed from the Hollywood roots or its connections to Reform Jewish traditions and values. Today, the Temple of Israel's dedication to worship, community, Jewish life, social justice to Israel has distinctly contemporary flair. Temple of Israel was founded upon the dedication of social justice through both thought and action. In 1965, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke movingly from the Temple's pulpit about segregation, poverty, freedom, and human dignity. 10 years later, at the end of the Vietnam War, Bob Dylan sang "Blowing in the Wind" as a Temple Sedar. In 1939, the world tensions increased and the synagogues rose to action as the president of the Temple, Saul Bischoff, chaired a spiritual demons, appealing for prayer and divine intercession on behalf of the opposed peoples in Europe. Despite the seriousness of the times in Hollywood, style for continued as the 13th annual midnight show held at the Pantages brought Jack Benny, Milton Berle, Al Jolson, Eddie Cantor, Ben Blue, Burns, and Alan and Ann Miller to the stage. In the late 50s and 60s, the Temple stayed true to its Hollywood roots by staging an annual show starring Judy Garland, Danny Thomas, Shirley MacLaine, Lucille Ball, Alan King, Lena Horne, Frank Sinatra, and more. The Temple also hosted intellectually provocative speakers and as Leon Uris and Joseph Sackalt, who spoke at the role as his Otto Frank and the Anne Frank Diaries. As the demographics of Hollywood started to change in the 1960s, young families moved north to the valley and west toward the ocean. During these lean years, the purchase of the Hillside Memorial provided a steady flow of income and congregation. In 1965, the Temple was honored to host Reverend Martin Luther King, who delivered a sermon from the pulpit, which was reported to be on the highest spiritual level, with a message stirred the congregation. As the golden age of the liberal American Jewry emerged in the late 60s and early 70s, Temple of Israel's political voice and influence grew. Rabbi Nussbaum. In 1943, the Temple of Israel staffed and supported a USO service club and opened a dormitory with 125 beds for soldiers. That same year, a ceremony was held to burn the mortgage and dedicate a Torah scroll rescued by Rabbi Nussbaum from the flames of burning synagogue in Berlin. After the war, the Temple was overflowing with families clamoring for membership. Under the leadership of Uri Burskin, who acted as president for an unparalleled of 6 terms, the Temple decided to build a beautiful new building to serve the demands of a growing community. At the same time, members of the Temple's board became nationally prominent in raising incredible sums of money and to furnish Israel with the funds needed to ensure their future. The Temple of Israel is located in Hollywood at the corners of Hollywood Boulevard and Fuller Avenue.